For the first time ever, Impact Wrestling is bringing Spike TV cameras to the city that never sleeps. New York City. It will be a summer to remember. Starting on June 25th, 26th, and 27th, Impact Wrestling, the legendary Manhattan Center.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Harley Race.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
This is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of the Wrestling Insiders. It is Thursday, May the 1st, new month, and a new guest host with us here. Taking a look at TNA, got our good friend CT, Charlie Taylor, up in the great state of Maine.
Hey, thanks, Dan. It's great to be here for you. I'm excited to talk a little TNA with you today.
What is going on in the world of TNA Impact Wrestling, which you can even see tonight if this goes online on May the 1st? On Spike TV at 9 o'clock.
Well, we're going to have the fallout from the Sacrifice pay-per-view, of course, where the big news, I guess you could say, was Eric Young retaining his title against Magnus.
I didn't see the show, so you'd have to run through it for me. That's why you're Mr. TNA.
Oh, you want me to run through the whole show? Oh, okay, well, you know.
Well, any thoughts and comments you might have in between, feel free to insert them, but...
Sure, yeah. Well, we let off the show, Dan, with a TNA Tag Team titles were on the line, of course. We had the Wolves taking on the Bromans, and we saw the Wolves recapture the TNA Tag Team titles in this one. And I got to ask you, big guy, what was the point, do you think, of TNA putting the titles on the Wolves in the first place at that house show just to have them drop them a short time later? Don't you think that this the chase to this title win here in this match would have been a whole lot more meaningful had they not done that?
I think that had something to do with them taping the pay-per-view in Japan.
Sorry, what was that?
I think it has, I could be 100% wrong, but I remember when it happened, I think it correlated with the one-night only pay-per-view they taped in Japan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was just thinking with your booking cap on, even with that show in Japan, do you think it's worth it for your audience here back in the States and in the long run to make that kind of decision when you had just brought them in? They were kind of gaining steam, and that title win, I just feel, would have been a whole lot more meaningful last night had it been their, Sunday night, had it been their first win.
Maybe to show how out of the loop I am. Did they never appeared on TV as champions, did they?
I don't believe so. No, I believe once Impact rolled around again, they had already dropped the belts, or they dropped it that first Impact. It was very shortly after they captured it. They may have dropped it on that the Japanese show, actually, the one night only pay-per-view, I believe. Might have been when they dropped it. So by the time the Bromans appeared on Impact, they had already won the belts back.
I really don't see an issue with it. Right now, where TNA is kind of going through a process where they've been weeding stars out for a while, now bringing new, fresher, younger faces in. You may see things like that happen from time to time. It's a good thing for the non-televised events to have things like that happen. I'm happy to see the Wolves get the tag team titles. They've been fantastic since they came in. I mean, they've always been fantastic. Eddie Edwards has been with the MWF since 2002 when he debuted with green hair, and I mean, he just continued to get better and better and better. The longest reigning MWF television champion for a while. He held it for over 2.5 years. He's one hell of an athlete, one hell of a person.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of meeting Eddie at the shows in Boston, and that's all I was just going to say. He's a hell of a guy, and great to see these guys get the national exposure. They had their time in Ring of Honor, but, to see them getting in TNA and having the success and being spotlighted is great. But another thing I really want to touch on is even in defeat, I've been really impressed with the Bromans work. They have been saddled a bit here with the comedy act, and they can get a little bit silly at times, but they've really kind of carried the tag team division in a real lull period, and I kind of been digging their work, and I think that, I'm not sure if you would agree with me, but I think Robbie E has a ton of potential as a singles act if he maybe straightens out his gimmick a little bit and isn't quite so goofy. I think he could be a big breakout star here in the coming months and the coming years here for the company.
Well, I think they're good as a tag team. They get a reaction, which is always a great thing. I think Z Marion, the DJ, I think he's added a lot as a quasi-manager / music player for them. The main thing is, do you get a reaction? The crowd reacts to them, and that's, when it comes down to it, what you want to get out of the two of them. I think they're good as a tag team right now. As far as singles goes, Robbie E was primarily a single for most of his time in TNA. I think it's a good fit to have them in the tag teams. I don't think tag team wrestling gets its just desserts in 2014 anywhere. That's not a dig at anyone. That's just people aren't into tag team wrestling the way they used to be, but it could be a great asset to any company if it's focused upon.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And some guys just kind of fit that mold anyway of a tag team wrestler, and they kind of have more success in that division. So you're right. They definitely have plenty of legs left as a team. I just think that his act in particular of the two is really strong. But moving on anyway, the Wolves did capture the belt, so they are your new TNA Tag Team Champions. In the second match of the evening at Sacrifice, we saw a committed match, which I wasn't exactly sure what it was going in, to be honest with you. This is another one of those kind of goofy gimmick matches that you see time to time in professional wrestling. The loser was to be committed away to an insane asylum, and we saw the participants, Mr. Anderson and Samuel Shaw. And in this one, saw Mr. Anderson continue his dominance over Samuel Shaw, and he, in fact, picked up the win yet again and committed Shaw. And I got to tell you, Dan, I had a big problem with this match. Not so much in the way it's worked. I think Anderson, since he came back, has been doing some of the best work he's done in TNA, and I think he seems a little bit motivated, with his stuff with Bully Ray and even his stuff here with Shaw. But I think TNA had a good chance here to build a star. They had started to show some signs with Shaw here. Although he's a different character, he's a little bit odd, and he takes a little bit getting used to. I thought they really had a chance here to create something unique and really kind of and go for the home run, and just to see him lose time after time to Anderson and really look quite goofy doing it, and all the stuff with Christy Hemme and just how he just kind of looks silly and stupid. I don't know. I just think that they kind of dropped the ball here, and I'm not sure what Anderson really gains from this when they made Shaw look so kind of weak in defeat.
What was the stipulation of the match again?
It was a committed match where, the loser was to be committed away to an insane asylum. There was, straight jackets involved and stuff like that. But yeah, the loser was to be committed away. So I'm not sure we'll be seeing Mr. Shaw for a little while, or we may perhaps be getting some clips of him in a padded room with a straight jacket. I can only imagine.
Only the powers that be at TNA know where that's going to go. But on paper, as it is right now, I just have to say, really, who wants to sit there and see that? No one's going to believe he's going to a mental institution. They could have had a more powerful stipulation to get more out of the match, but that's what it was.
And not just the match was silly in itself, but I was excited when Shaw was coming into this feud, because I kind of picked Anderson as the next guy I thought that he could go against and kind of get him that next step, because he was starting to build a little bit of momentum. He had picked up television wins, but I know the last pay-per-view he had lost to Anderson. He's lost to him on Impact as well, and then they've run various skits where he's approach Christy Hemme or kind of, try to abduct Christy Hemme backstage, and in the process, her and Anderson kind of, one-up him, it seems like, every time. So, yeah, he hasn't been really built to be credible at all, and that's really disappointing because I thought that they really had something with him.
So they've had angles on television where Shaw has tried to kidnap Christy Hemme?
Yeah, well,
with the camera taping it?
Basically, he was schmoozing her, and he was trying to win her over with dates, for a while, and he brought her to his home, and she tried to go into one of the rooms in his home, and he said no, and he went in, and it was a shrine to Christy Hemme. There was pictures of her all over the wall. It was a blow-up doll or a mannequin that was dressed up like Christy Hemme with a red wig and everything. And he basically had, a shrine that he worshipped of Christy Hemme. She saw that and dumped him, said she didn't want to pursue that anymore. And that's when he kind of upped the anger, tried to, kidnap her, take her forcefully so that he could be with her and kind of so he could show her the way that he really was a good guy and that she really wanted to be with him and she wanted no part of it. And that's where kind of Anderson played the knight in shining armor role.
Well, I guess that's what's great about wrestling. Variety is the slice of life. That doesn't sound like it's something I'd want to sit through, but I'm sure there are some fans that may have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a bad angle. I just thought that they could have played it up a little bit to make Shaw look a little bit more credible. But in the end, I guess they are just building up Anderson, and he looks like he could be a good babyface challenger for one of the top heels here going forward.
All right, what else took place on this big event last Sunday night in Orlando?
Next match, we had a tag team match where we saw the odd pairing of Kurt Angle and Willow, the alter ego, if you will, of Jeff Hardy, as they went up and defeated EC3 and Rockstar Spud, Dixie's old cabinet crew there. And this match was really just a lot about Angle and Willow getting their revenge on EC3 as he had individually, taken them both out, in, previous weeks and months. And just EC3 and Spud, they just really weren't much of a threat to, two former world champions and two guys that are just really in a league of their own. So this match probably would have been a little more... even had it been a 3-on-2, but needless to say, Angle and Willow, made quick work of the duo, and it looks like we may get a little bit more of EC3 and Kurt. There's a little bit of post-match stuff with them, but pretty easy work for the former Olympian and the alter ego Jeff Hardy. I got to get your thoughts, though. Have you been able to catch any of this, the Willow character?
I have. I'm a big proponent of Jeff Hardy. I think he adds a lot to any program or any promotion he's in. To turn him into Willow, the good part about it, he's doing something he seems to enjoy. I'm sure a lot of the younger fan base may get a kick out of it. The only problem with that is, as far as the top tier in TNA goes, it's going through a rebuilding process right now, and to me, it should be pretty much hands on deck. Anyone who's available is available. I think Jeff Hardy weekly is a good thing, but at the same time, I don't know if it's ever a good thing to have every piece of talent you have on television every week. To give him a little break from being himself and being I think that's a mask and face paint. I'm not sure. He looks like Sherry Martel at SummerSlam 90 when she was painted as a cat in the match against Sapphire that never took place. But
come on, Cherry didn't look that good.
Well, hey, I'm not a judge of how good Jeff looks as Willow, but that's a different story for a different time. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think like I said, they could use as much top-tier talent as possible. Not a bad thing that they're holding up a stipulation that, quote-unquote, Jeff Hardy was either fired or suspended or whatever the stipulation was. So I guess technically he never came back, and it's been, quote-unquote, Willow that's been wrestling. I mean, hey, if it freshens him up a little bit and makes fans to be more excited for Jeff once he becomes Jeff again, I don't think there's really anything wrong with that at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I got to commend him for, taking the chance and going for it with the new character. You got to believe that Jeff is, largely behind this. I got to think this is, something that, he obviously had used before and something that he probably pushed for again just to, have a little fun. And, on TNA side, why not, let him do it. Let him, experiment a little bit. If it helps him, possibly re-up again for his contract, then, so be it. And, it's coming off, a little awkward at first. Maybe they could use Willow and Jet together, have them appear, but, I don't really know where it's going. But then, I guess that's, how we have to wait and see. But it's just a little strange. It's taking some getting used to. I appreciate that they're taking a chance, and I'm willing to go for the ride and kind of see where it's going from here. It definitely is something different. I really like 2 weeks ago they shot a scene in the woods where EC3 and Spud were looking for Willow, and they were, searching for him through, an old, rundown, barn or something like that. And they did these scenes where, with the music and the different angles where it was almost like a horror movie where he came out of nowhere from behind Spud and, took him off at a camera, at a site. And it was pretty well done, and it was interesting. It was something different for a wrestling show. And if there's going to be more of that type of stuff, I'm interested to see where it's going to go.
Well, the only thing about Willow is if he goes through June, I'd love to see how the New York City fans are going to react to him when they're there in late June for 3 dates on the 25th, 26th, and 27th at the Manhattan Center. That's going to be Impact, and I believe a one-night-only taping. For more information, you can go to TNAWrestling.com for that. But I think the New York fans will be rough on Willow if Jeff is not Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, those are quite possibly some of the most important shows for TNA to date. That New York crowd is going to be rabid, and they're going to be, ready for some wrestling. And that's always a great crowd. It's hopefully going to be a great turnout for TNA. I hope they pack the arena and they just have, an electric atmosphere. And you're right, those fans have always proven to be unpredictable, much like Chicago, much like Boston. You never know what you're going to get with those guys, and it'll be interesting to see how they do react to Willow. It'll also be interesting to see how they react to Gunner. He's started to get a pretty good babyface reaction here, it seems like, as they start to travel around. They're kind of starting to tiptoe, a pretty fine line about how much they are promoting his military background. I mean, we get it. He was in the armed forces. You kind of got to move into another direction and kind of make sure that has legs and not just keep reminding people of that. But I do kind of like the fact that I guess the house shows he's having the crowd do the Pledge of Allegiance with him before the match, and he's just doing different things to kind of engage the crowd. I've noticed during the match, banging his head off the turnbuckle and different things like that. So Gunner's kind of catching on a little bit here, and we saw his recent string of success continue with a very excellent match with James Storm in the I Quit match here at Sacrifice. These guys have just put on a great show here in the past couple of months. Their matches on pay-per-view, their matches of Impact have often been the best matches on the card or right there up there at the very top. So I've been very impressed with Gunner. I've been very impressed with James Storm and how he's been kind of carrying this feud and making sure that he's taken his character change and made sure it's stuck. And in the process, he's done a good job of getting Gunner over. So Gunner with the victory over James Storm.
Another big match at Sacrifice last Sunday night on pay-per-view. What was next up on the list, CT?
We saw the knockouts. We got the lovely ladies in on the action. We saw Angelina Love and Madison Rain go at it for the knockouts title. Of course, Angelina Love was accompanied to the ring by the beautiful Velvet Sky.
Yes.
The Beautiful People reunion has taken place, and the two ladies are back together. That saw Angelina Love capture the knockouts title from Madison Rain, and it looks like we have the Beautiful People back in full effect and with the gold. I got to tell you, Dan, the reunion so far for these two ladies feels a little flat for me. Velvet Sky spent a lot of time as a face, and this just abrupt heel turn hasn't quite clicked for me yet. But I'm going to give it a chance. I loved their act the first time around.
Yeah, definitely one of the better acts in TNA all around the first time. Interesting to see where it goes in 2014 and maybe beyond. It did kind of seem like it came out of the blue, but
Hey, I mean, it's a good way to get a surprise, and it's a good way to, I get that back aligned. I think they can have some great tag matches against Madison and Gail Kim for sure, and possibly breathe a little life into that Knockouts division.
well, we'll have to wait and see what happens tonight and beyond on TNA Impact. But new women's champion.
You can't miss an Impact right now. I mean, this post-sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of fallout tonight, including Bully Ray and Bobby Roode. Of course, they've been at each other's throats lately. Seems like every week on Impact, they're brawling all over the Impact zone. There's not an inch of that Impact zone that they haven't fought each other all over, and I've loved every second of it. It's been knockout, drag-out fights, just rough, tough guy action. I mean, you got to love it. If you like fighting and you just like two guys kicking each other's ass, this has been perfect for you. And Bobby Roode was able to pull out the win in Bully Ray's signature match, the tables match. But I got a feeling we haven't seen the last of these two guys, which is all right by me. I mean, these guys just go out there and they beat the living hell out of each other, and it's always just great when these guys are in there.
Well, did they interact with each other in singles action on the pay-per-view?
Yes. Bobby Roode picked up the win on Bully in the tables match.
Was that when Dixie Carter dressed up as the cameraman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was able to strike Bully, and Bobby was able to pick up the win. Kind of a little bit of a revenge there for Bully turning on Dixie in the Lethal Lockdown match and knocking her out of power. She seems like she's hell-bent to do anything to get some power back here in that company, and she'll run over anyone to do it, and she sent that message clearly to Bully Ray. So it looks like Bully is going to have his hands full because Dixie's going to make his life a living hell. And actually it looks like, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but, Bobby Roode, if that is the end for them, he comes out of there a pretty strong heel contender. He may quite possibly have positioned himself to be the number one contender for the TNA heavyweight title because Eric Young, Showtime, EY, riding the wave of momentum and riding his world title win and successfully defending his title against Magnus this past Sunday. And Magnus' rematch clause is in the books. EY is still the champ, and quite an impressive run here. But EY, he's gone through Abyss, he's gone through Magnus, and now he's standing tall as the TNA World Champ. Your thoughts on EY as World Champ?
It's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it was a carbon copy ripoff of Daniel Bryan's win in the 8 months behind it for Eric Young to win the Battle Royal and then go on to win the title the same night. But again, that's the great thing about wrestling. There's a lot of fans that are enjoying it. The fans live have reacted well. I don't know how long that's going to go for, but to take someone that was in that position, almost a Eugene-type character, and then all of a sudden coronate them as the champion, I don't know. I don't know if my pencil would have filled in that blank.
I agree.
But I don't work there, so you know what? TNA knows what TNA's doing better than I do.
Right, and I mean, it's been about 2 weeks since he won the belt, and honestly, I still don't know how I feel about it. Of course, he's been a loyal employee. He's been there, he's since, basically the beginning, if not since the very start. He's put in his time. He's loyal to the company. He's one of the originals. So, in that sense, he's paid his dues, but I kind of feel like I just saw that story with Chris Sabin a few months ago where he won the belt sort of as a, longevity kind of, thing there. So,
I don't think that, your heavyweight championship should be treated as a thank you award for being around the company for so long.
Exactly, and I'm not saying that he's not capable of being a world champion. I just, as the case is many times in TNA, it feels like I missed part of the story. It feels like even though I am a dedicated fan and I watch the show every single week, Thursday on Play TV, that, I missed part of the story. We jumped ahead, and all of a sudden I am looking at him being the world champion, and I missed it. He should have been built up, for months going after, going over Abyss was great. I could have seen him go over Bobby Roode and, the heel James Storm. And there's just a list of different guys that I would have liked to have seen him overcome before he earned his shot at the world title.
I disagree with that, and the fact I almost think him winning it is almost a surprise was for the best, and then it gives him a lot of fresh challenges right off the bat to defend the title against.
Okay, but
I don't think I think it would have been
that with the surprise may not have been at the best time on the heels of WrestleMania 30.
Well, definitely.
And the way it looks. But I do agree that him having the belt that does create a new dynamic and does give him a slew of new challengers. And two of those challengers are actually two guys that I really wanted to touch upon with you. Is Kenny King. We saw him. He's returned in the last few weeks. The King of the Night, Kenny King. He looks like he may not be just the next division guy this time. He looks like he may get a shot at rolling with the big boys. And then, of course, a guy that we're familiar with, a friend of the MWF and an MWF superstar, Bobby Lashley made his TNA return, and there's no doubt in my mind, having seen Lashley up close in person, he's fully capable of winning that TNA Heavyweight Championship. So if I'm EY, I'm definitely looking over my shoulder at Bobby Lashley as well.
I would love to see that happen. It's funny enough, last time Bobby was with us on my birthday, as a matter of fact, we went out to a local establishment afterwards, and I said to him point blank, there is no reason why he should not be on national television each and every week. And at that point in September, I don't think he knew he was going to wind up in TNA, but that's how the wrestling gods saw it fit. I mean, he's still in tremendous peak physical condition. He's trained in the disciplines of mixed martial arts. He's a legit badass, but he's one of the nicest guys on the planet. I hope he'll still be with us at MWF live events and appearances for time to come.
That's right. I can't agree more. And so that was, in a nutshell, the pay-per-view. I thought it was a good show. As always, the in-ring work was tremendous, and it kind of put the bow on a few feuds, and it kind of allows us to move forward here in TNA with some fresh stories, I believe. And I got to think that the future's bright. I mean, feels like we've been kind of in a holding power, kind of stalling out a little bit since Magnus was the champion. Hopefully, Eric Young grabs that belt and kind of runs with it and breathes new life into the company. We got a new world champion, we got a new knockout champion, and we got a new tag team champion. So it's the perfect time to get off on a new foot here and roll. I mean, the company looks great on paper. Eric Young, Gunner, Kurt Angle, Lashley, Willow, EC3, Magnus, Rude, Storm, MVP, Kenny King. I mean, the list goes on. The talent's there. I would love to see, things just come together for them and kind of see, some of these stories where they get one great feud going at a time here. I'd like to see them all come together and we'll see 4 or 5 feuds and just have that impact be lightning in a bottle and just be awesome from start to finish. I think it's coming. I think it's right around the corner, and I wouldn't want to miss it when it does get here. So you make sure to tune in and make sure that you're catching these shows because the talent's there, and I think we're ready to hit a boom period.
Well, wrestling fans, there's a lot going on in the sport in general, but right now TNA is set off on a new foot. 3 new champions crowned Sunday night. A lot to look forward to on TNA Impact each and every week as they lead up to TNA Slammiversary in Texas. And then, as I mentioned, the 3 dates in June in New York City, the Hammerstein Ballroom, the Manhattan Center. It's going to be a happening, to say the least. For all the information, you can check out TNAWrestling.com. What was that?
I was just chanting TNA. I couldn't help it. I was thinking about the Hammerslam Ballroom, and I was just, oh man, I was getting goosebumps.
All right, well, CT, any final TNA thoughts as we're running out of time in this segment?
TNA thoughts, I mean, it's just great. I think EY champion. I'm excited to see his first challenger. I'm excited to see what the Wolves do with the belts. You know, I'm just ready to go. Impact tonight. I can't wait.
Well, you are excited indeed. Fans, continue to check out the BostonWrestling.com super site, as well as our social media platforms to keep up with the latest in the Millennium Wrestling Federation, the history of wrestling in New England, and our new Wrestling Insider series. Be well. Don't forget that the legendary Axe and Smash Demolition will be with us live at MWF Studios Sunday, June the 22nd, as our Summer of Superstars begins. Demolition will be available for autographs, post photos, and an in-studio shoot interview. That's just the beginning. We want to bring you up to 6 legends live and in person this summer. Click on the link in this video to check out our Indiegogo campaign running now through Monday, May the 5th. Donate what you can and check out the awesome wrestling merchandise and even experiences we have in return for your generosity. Fans, let's create history together.
For the first time ever, Impact Wrestling is bringing Spike TV cameras to the city that never sleeps. New York City. It will be a summer to remember. Starting on June 25th, 26th, and 27th, Impact Wrestling, the legendary Manhattan Center.